Good morning, everyone. I think we have quorum. We're just waiting on the director here, I think, to join us.
Good job yesterday, Lynn. It's Mark.
Well, it would have been nice to finish, but at least we are here all again.
Yeah, I'd like to echo those sentiments from Mark. You did a great job trying to manage a very full meeting yesterday, Lynn, and
Thank you very much for that. And I see that the director has now joined us. Good morning, Director.
Morning.
So I would like to call this continuation meeting to order and just review where we were when we left off last night. We are still in rules of committee. And what we have on the floor is an amendment to the principles that were included in report 20-061 that Trustee Campbell had put forward. We have, I think, pretty much concluded our debate on that motion to amend the principles, but we hadn't yet taken a vote on the changes to the principles. And we have, I think, just to refresh ourselves, is it possible to do a screen share of the changes that we're talking about here? And this was Trustee Campbell's amendment.
This now includes Trustee Campbell's amendment, Chair.
Yeah, did we actually vote on that last night? I don't think we did. To adopt the, I beg your pardon?
I don't believe we did, Chair.
Yeah, so what we need to be seeing here is what we're voting on, which would be the proposed amended principles from Trustee Campbell. That's the one. Perfect. Thank you very much. And that was amendments to principles 2, 3, 4, and 7. And those are now all in front of us. And
Madam Chair.
Trustee Campbell.
I think maybe I'm not understanding where we're at here, but I had been invited to provide a separate introduction on just the principles. There is a debate, and I believe we did pass those separately, did we not? At least at committee.
We did not. We did not approve the changes to the principles yet. That we were about to do that when we hit 11 o'clock.
I thought we approved that as well as the new clause that Trustee Campbell put forward.
Yeah, Madam Chair, there were two votes. First, the principles that was dispensed with, and then we went to the new clauses, and that also was dispensed with.
Okay, so we are good on that. My notes weren't absolutely clear as to whether we had completed dealing with those revisions or not, and that means that the part B of the motion, then as it stands of the main motion, should say guiding principles outlined in report 20-061 as amended. Because we did do that amendment then. So on my speakers list, I had Trustee Campbell was my last speaker on my list. Is there any further debate on the motion that is before us?
No, Madam Chair, I just ask everybody to vote for unanimity to go past 11.
And in that case,
I believe I was on the speakers list as the last person. Although
Yes.
that was great from Trustee Campbell.
that was back to the main motion. Yes. Okay. I see where I failed to cross one out, but I still have you. So I will move then next to Trustee Schwartz. We are still in rules of committee, and that means you have 3 minutes, Trustee Schwartz.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I'll go very quickly. I really just had a question, I guess, for the director, and then open it to the rest of trustees. I guess, given the fact that last night we heard from many parents and from the medical officer of health locally that the preference would be to go to 5 days a week and be fully back in school. I'm wondering if our resolution or our recommendations coming out of the special board meeting, in fact, need to have some specificity around that. I know the guiding principles have shifted, but I think we need to be very clear in that our preference is a 5 day, so fully back to school in September. Can I just have a quick comment if the director feels that might be necessary to add such a statement, which would essentially be an endorsement? I think that's the direction we would like to go, understanding, of course, that the 3 scenarios still do need to be fully developed.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. And so I think the amendment to Principle 2, which speaks to the fact for as quickly as possible, September start, and just like, because I'm parsing between the amendment and the principle as it was written, and I think the full-time learning is identified there. So that is identified already. However, if trustees feel that there's a need to have a caveat statement or something to that effect, certainly it just would emphasize. But I believe that the amendment to Principle 2 actually does exactly what the trustee is raising, which is indicating, because again, the amendment went to September start, so it was very specific to expand the whole notion of the full return as the first priority. So I think trustees have gone down that road already, but certainly it's within the purview of the trustees to expand that emphasis if you so wish.
Okay, given that I have a very small amendment, I think that could be a part A to the full motion, which and I know, Nicole, you've got the copy.
Yeah. And if we can stop the screen share for that, and I think everyone has the full motion. The text of the full motion has been shared with everyone.
Okay.
So go ahead, please, Trustee Schwartz.
Madam Chair, I'm actually having Google Docs access issues. If I could get the text and the principles sent in an email, that would be great.
So I'm proposing a new part A, which would read that the board prefers all students return to regular instruction 5 days a week with enhanced cleaning and hygiene in September 2020. And I think that just simply clarifies the position of this board with respect to our preference, which I saw in the director's report to the board as well last night, was kind of one of the front end statements. It's in line with what the public medical officer of health, Dr. Etches, is also referencing.
So that is the amendment, and that would be to insert that as a part A to the main motion.
Correct.
So if we do that, do staff have the text of that? And is there any comment from staff, Madam Director?
No further comment necessary, I think, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is this a friendly amendment to make that clear statement at the beginning of the preference?
I believe so, Madam Chair. Can I just have it reread? I don't have the text.
Yeah, I don't know, Nicole,
Will
can you
ask-
do a
I
screen
will ask
share?
Manager Guthrie to see if she can, if she's captured the text, if she can do a screen share of that proposed new part then.
Through you, Chair, I am just emailing Trustee Campbell the revisions so that he is up to speed with the proposed amendments. Trustee Campbell, I will warn you, it may be not as it appears in the Google Doc that I'm about to share.
Nicole, can you email it to me as well? It's Wendy here. I'm stuck at a Starbucks trying to have some Wi-Fi, so if you can just email me with that as well.
I'm just typing in the text of the suggested amendment into the chat function so everyone can actually see it.
And we now have it on our screen as well for the benefit of the public. So my question again is this addition a friendly amendment? If you do not
Madam
think
Chair?
it is friendly, would you please say so? And I will
Madam
listen.
Chair, I like it a lot, but I would like to consider a sub-amendment.
In that case, it is not friendly. So did you need any further introduction, Trustee Schwartz?
I merely wanted to suggest that this is the language that I found on the Ottawa Catholic School Board website in reference to, I believe, a motion that was passed at their board last night. This would be keeping in line with sort of the local medical officer of health. And this is frankly the exact wording aside from the in September 2020 that comes out of the Catholic board, so our coterminous board. Aside from that, I think we just need some clarity and make sure that our public is very clear what our intentions are.
Thank you, Trustee Schwartz. Trustee Campbell then.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just, I guess, a question through you, if I may, in terms of clarification, in terms of intent. Is this really speaking to the school day only, or does it mean to include extended day programming as well?
And that's a question for the mover.
I think it could be open to interpretation. My intention behind this was for full day school. However, and that's why I've put in regular instruction. However, if we want to amend to include EDP, I just wanted to ensure that both elementary and secondary was included in this and that we weren't solely focused on elementary.
Thank you. Back to Trustee Campbell then.
Thank you. I mean, on the fly, I can't think of great text, but I guess I'd like to sub-amend, subject to wiser advice, to insert the words after regular instruction, including the provision of extended day programming services, uncomma, as an insert. Again, this
I think all you need to do, I think all you need to do is to say including extended day program or and extended day program.
That's fine. And again, this is a statement of preference. You know, we'll see what's actually workable, but this I think provides clear direction in that regard. That's it.
And I appreciate that, and I will go back to the director for staff comment on that, please. If there is any.
Thank you. No further comment. We certainly did understand that implicitly from the conversation last evening, and certainly some of the statements have been explicit. So this essentially encompasses it. I do appreciate Trustee Campbell's emphasis on the notion of prefers, because again, there is going to be there are going to be directives that are coming. The caution that it does raise to me is the question of the word regular, because one of the challenges, and I believe that staff communicated this yesterday, is while it is that we may see all of our students, optimistically, all of our students returning to us on a 5-day-a-week basis daily in September, we do not anticipate that with additional measures being taken for safety, that we will be returning to business as usual. So there will be aspects of the instructional day that will look differently and need to be amended to ensure a safe return for everyone. And so I worry about the representation to the public, that every aspect of the school day will return to normal operations. Because I think that will be a bit of a reach to make a promise of that nature, or even to communicate an expectation of that nature. So the word regular causes me a little consternation. I know it says regular instruction, but the word regular is going to signal to people normalcy, and the normalcy that will be expected is not one that is the one we left off on March the 10th. So
Thank you.
If I still have the floor, could I ask?
So we're still on your sub amendment here, which is the addition of extended day. We're not going to get into regular instruction right now.
Okay, thank you. I guess we have to deal with that sub amendment, but I have a further question through you to the director then.
So my question then to all of our board members is the addition of including extended day program a friendly sub amendment. And if you object to that, please speak up now. And I'm not hearing from anybody, so that change is incorporated as friendly, and I'm back to Trustee Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the director's expressed concern, I understand that regular may imply normal as opposed to, I don't know actually what a good substitute word would be, but I guess an alternate way to soften this potentially might be to change prefers to aspires to. But I don't know if that would make an important difference with respect to addressing the director's concern. So I guess, could I have a comment for the director whether she felt that made any difference at all?
If I can make a suggestion, Trustee Campbell, here, perhaps what we really are saying is full-time instruction as opposed to regular instruction. And I will ask the director for her comment and suggestions.
thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so full-time, daily, that I think is defining the fact that it is a focus on the instructional day, not on the entire school day. So, daily instruction, full-time instruction, I think is an appropriate change. I do, while it is that, the softening of prefers, I think that the goal of the trustees is to in fact communicate that the board does in fact prefer. So, I don't think that that's a clear message to the community that this is a preference of the board. My concern is more with the regular word, and I think daily or full-time would do the trick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move in sub amendment then that regular be replaced with full-time.
And we now have that up on the screen. Thank you.
If I may briefly,
Does it need further introduction, Trustee Campbell?
very briefly, in terms of choosing full-time versus daily, daily could cover situations where we're looking at half days. And I think the intent, my belief is the intent of the trustee, certainly my intent would be that we focus on full-time rather than what it might be potentially a lower bar of simply daily. That's it.
Thank you for that. And I will ask again, if this is not friendly, would you please speak up now? And I'm not hearing any objection to this. So we will consider that amendment, sub-amendment incorporated as friendly. Is there any further discussion then on Trustee Schwartz's amendment to add this new clause A? Back to you then for wrap up, Trustee Schwartz.
I do believe that Trustee Bell had a question.
I did put up my hand and I just took it down.
Yeah, I'm not seeing your hand up.
Okay. In both forums. Hand up.
I see your hand up now in video.
Great. So through you, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Trustee Schwartz, for bringing this forward. I really appreciate it. I think when you had put regular, I just wanted to ask, I'm assuming you mean with all of our intent towards our objective, which is creating a culture of caring and social responsibility and innovation. To me, that would be regular instruction. So I was just wondering if you could clarify that. And full-time would also capture that. So I'm happy to support the full-time.
Thank you for that. And so back to Trustee Schwartz then, wrap up on this amendment.
Thank you very much. I'm appreciative of the support of this. And if this is moved, I think it does provide further clarity to our broader public who are quite concerned, but that this is a signal of our intent.
Thank you. So I will call the question on the amendment, which as sub-amended, which would add that the board prefers all students return to full-time instruction, including extended day program, 5 days a week with enhanced cleaning and hygiene in September 2020. All those in favor? And opposed? And the motion is carried.
Madam Chair, I just want to check that I still have a few seconds left on the clock because I'd like to move back to board.
If you have another motion to put, please go ahead.
I have a motion to resume or to finish with.
To return to.
Sorry, to return to board.
Rules of board.
Yes, please. And that we finish debate. I think we've had a fulsome debate both last night and today.
Thank you very much for that. I will call the question on the motion to return to rules of board. All those in favor? And those opposed? And that motion is carried. So now that we are back in rules of board, we do have 2 recommendations to bring forward from our rules of committee. Each one of them will need a seconder, and the first one of those will be our motion with reference to this school year calendar. And that was moved by Trustee
Through you, Madam Chair, Trustee
Campbell. Trustee Campbell moved that last night, and So we do need a seconder for that. Who would like to second that motion?
I think Wendy had her hand up first.
And trustee Huff will second that. And is there any further debate on this item? If not, I will call the question on the recommendation regarding the school year calendar. And I will ask ask Manager Guthrie to conduct the vote.
Trustee Boothby,
In favor.
trustee Blackburn, trustee Huff,
In favor.
trustee Campbell,
In favor?
trustee Ellis,
In favor.
trustee Jennings,
In favor.
trustee Penny,
In favor.
trustee Lyra,
In favor.
trustee
favor.
Bell,
In favor.
trustee Fisher,
In favor.
trustee Schwartz,
In favor.
trustee Blackburn, and trustee Scott.
In favor. So the motion is carried then, 11 in favor. And that would appear to be unanimous among those present. So moving on then, we have our recommendation on the floor, which was moved by trustee Schwartz. And that is the recommendation with regard to the return to school in September, which now has 9 parts. And
I'd like to second,
we
Lynn.
need a seconder for that. Trustee Fisher, are you seconding?
I'd like to, yes.
Thank you very much. And I will ask if there is further debate on this recommendation. And I will, since I have not had a chance to speak to this, I will ask trustee Penny if he would please take the chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and go ahead.
Thank you very much. We certainly had a fulsome debate on this whole topic. We heard loud and clear from the community that what is needed the most is a full-time return to school for all of our students. One of our challenges in doing this is figuring out where the line of authority for approving various aspects is still unclear. There's still much that's in the minister's hands. There's still much that is in the hands of the medical officer of health for the province of Ontario. But I think the amendments make our position very clear, and I will be pleased to write a letter that makes that very obvious to the minister and to the premier. I have one concern within the context of the motion, and that is in part C, the reference to approval by the board. Because I do recognize that on the one hand, yes, we have our fiduciary responsibility, but on the other hand, much of what needs to happen is operational in nature. And what I'm wondering, and through you, Mr. Chair, I would like to ask Victor if it would make a difference if the words "in principle" were added to follow approve, to make it improve in principle, or if it would be better simply to make the reference to the high level plans as opposed to the detailed operational plans.
Thank you very much. And I consider that's not quite an amendment at this time, so I'm going to go to the director for her comment.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Certainly, that would be a helpful direction for staff, given that we know that, first of all, time is a challenge, and we do recognize that there is also the continuing, as everyone has recognized, shifting sands. And so we need to be able to have the flexibility to be responsive to emerging learning, because we do continue to get new data, new information, and our collaboration comes back with new caveats, if you will. So the terms in principle and high level would certainly help, because what that will do is it will allow us to provide trustees with a plan that speaks to direction around specific areas, as outlined in the presentation for the report, and allow the detailed plans to emerge as the information emerges, which will be more accurate once it is that we get down to delivery in September. My prediction is that what we know now in terms of the way that we deliver our work is going to be quite different from what we know on August the 15th and then August the 30th. And so the flexibility to be able to operationalize differently and quickly is going to be important. And it's important that we don't present information that continuously keeps changing from a public perspective.
Thank you very much for that. I would therefore like to move to amend Part C of the motion to insert the words high level before the word plans.
Okay. So that is.
And I have no further introduction.
Thank you very much. And debate, I see Trustee Huff. Go ahead, Trustee Huff.
Sorry, hands up. I'm just having a rough morning.
You need a seconder, Mr. Chair.
Oh, that's right. We are on board. So do we have a second for the amendment?
I'll second Keith. It's Mark.
Okay, Trustee Fisher, excellent. And did you have a question, Trustee Fisher?
Well, only to say that I'm more than happy to second this. I know what Lynn's trying to do, but I do think that this probably leads to a deeper debate among the board and staff about what our responsibilities are on the board and how we can help staff operationalize these kinds of issues, even in emergency situations. Just because it's an emergency doesn't mean we abdicate our responsibilities in terms of proving things with complex or complicated aspects. So I'm happy to support this, but I think we need to have a bigger debate at some point about how we work together on these issues.
Okay, thank you very much. And seeing no further hands up, turn it back to Trustee Scott. Any wrap up required for the amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think one of the challenges for our board and for all boards is finding that proper line between the operations and the oversight and guidance and direction boards have a responsibility to provide. That's why I didn't use the words in principle, because I think that would have just made it all kind of wishy-washy. But I do think that what we do need to make clear here, we're talking about the high level plans, and the fact that these are coming forward for approval, I think will mean that the director will be providing us considerable detail around the planning, but we'll still have the flexibility if something small has to change that can change without having to come back to the board for approval of every small thing. But certainly the big aspects will be a part of what the board has a hand overseeing and approving. I hope my colleagues will support the amendment.
Thank you very much. And I can't recall if we do a friendly thing here, but cut to the chase, maybe I'll just turn it over to Manager Guthrie to call the roll to call a question for the amendment.
I don't believe we need to do a recorded vote on the amendment.
No? Okay. Therefore, I'm going to ask if this is friendly. Anyone that doesn't think it's friendly, please speak. And hearing nothing, it is considered a friendly amendment. So Trustee Scott, you still have some time.
I would only like to say it has been very difficult for trustees to hear from so many parents who have been really challenged to meet the needs of their children, and so many of our staff who have been equally challenged in trying to serve our children. A huge thank you to the parent community, and an equally huge thank you to all of our staff who've worked very hard at things as right as they were able for our students, and who are now putting in a lot of additional effort in the preparations for September. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And thank you very much, Trustee Scott, and back over to you.
And so that brings me to back to the main motion here, which now is at the end, I think, of our debate. And that means I go to Trustee Schwartz for wrap up.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I think we had a very full agenda last night. Clearly, very many parents from both elementary and secondary levels in our board, indicating that many of them, like myself, as a parent with a child in this board, and I know many of the trustees around the table are in this position as well, have found the last several months extraordinarily difficult, and understanding fully the position that the board has been in, trying to provide emergency instruction, trying to provide some semblance of normalcy for the children in our care. And I'm really pleased to see the direction that we moved last night with all of the additional amendments. I think this sends a very strong signal both to the communities we serve, but also to the province and to the staff, what our intentions are, and understanding, of course, that we all want to be working together to be able to come back to as close to normal as we can in delivery of stellar education in this board. So I want to thank all of my colleagues for supporting all of these amendments, for supporting this motion in full. And I look forward to talking further with trustees and staff, as well as parents, about how the implementation of this will proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Schwartz. And does anyone need the full motion read before we take the vote? It is on your screen, and I note a typo in part A, that there shouldn't be an R at the end of full time. And if no one feels the need to read the whole thing in full, and I will ask staff to make sure that the full text of the motion is made available to the public, so that parents, the many parents who were interested in our proceedings and who came to speak to us last night will see where we actually landed on this. So with that, I will ask Manager Guthrie to take the vote, please.
Trustee Boothby,
In favor.
Trustee Huff,
In favor.
Trustee Campbell,
In favor?
Trustee Ellis,
In favor.
Trustee Jennings,
In favor.
Trustee Penny,
In favor?
Trustee Lyra,
In favor.
Trustee Bell,
In favor.
Trustee Fisher,
In favor.
Trustee Schwartz,
In favor.
Trustee Scott,
In favor. And is that unanimous
that is unanimous for all those
of
present.
those present? Thank you very much for that. Trustee Campbell?
Yes, just and further to your previous very welcome comment about publicizing the motion to the public, etc. I'd like to suggest we as well make sure that we publicize the full set of amended principles as well for public knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That brings us on our agenda to matters for information. Do we have any new matters for information today? Madam Director?
No, nothing new yet.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, I would like to give a huge shout out to Manager Guthrie and our board services staff who supported us so incredibly well through our 5-hour marathon meeting last night, and nevertheless were ready with all of the changes and to the motion so that we could just pick up and keep on moving forward. So I think a very, very big thank you is due to all of our board services team who not to neglect reference to Manager Sandy Owens from BNLT and her support team for their role in making all of this happen. With that, thank you to everybody. I know staff have a busy day ahead of them, and so do trustees. So we have reached the end of our agenda, and I declare our meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.